Hey, it's Mazzy here, and it is April 10th, 2023. I just want to do a little short video celebrating the birthday on April 10th of my late great friend, Coleman Burke. This coming summer, late spring this summer, I don't know the exact date, Coleman and I first met. I was working at a record store in San Francisco, and Coleman came in regularly, one of the regular customers, and we would talk about music. And later in the year, we actually hired him for Christmas help, and he stayed on, and we were friends for his entire life, or up until he passed away 2 years ago. Those of you new to my channel may have heard me mention Coleman or the Coleman collection, his collection of records. Massive music fan, freak like myself. And I was fortunate enough to have him and other friends who are fully entrenched in music, even late in our lives. And I feel so honored to have known Coleman and to have been a friend of his and him a friend of mine for all these years with a smaller group of other friends. And music was sort of our lifeline, our connection early on. Coleman and I are both native San Franciscans, but we didn't know each other until, again, 1973. I was 19 years old, actually probably 18 at that point, and he was a year younger than me, so he would have been 17. The first band that we both really connected on when he used to come into the store, and we talk about music, and we grew up in San Francisco. Of course, it's a lot about the sounds of San Francisco, the San Francisco psychedelic sound. And the group that we both connected with the most was the Jefferson Airplane, of course. Their first album was Take Off on RCA, but this was one of the big three records, sort of the Summer of Love, or at least of the 1967. This, along with Jimi Hendrix's first album, along with Sgt. Pepper. I'm sure there are others, but that's not what this video is about. But let me just show these five, because these are the five essential. If you're not into the Jefferson Airplane, of course the first one's great, Takes Off, more of a folk rock album. They all had that folk rock sort of sensibility platform, where a lot of the East Coast artists at the time came more for the blues side. Of course, there was folk there too, obviously out of New York, Greenwich Village. But I digress. So Jefferson Airplane, a must-have. Their biggest seller album, obviously, Grace Slick, first appearance with the Airplane, and bringing two songs, of course, the two hits, Somebody to Love and White Rabbit. Probably their most psychedelic record that some people were perplexed with at the time, but that is, this happens to be a mono Sundays. I do have original stereos, but this album is just, oh my God, what a great record. But this was at the time a harder record maybe for some to get into, especially after this. But of course, there's Martha, the song Martha on here, Two Heads. There is a lot of accessibility, as well as some great creative psychedelic wackiness in a good way. There is Crown of Creation, another fantastic record. It's got that beautiful song co-written with Paul Kantner and Grace Slick, and I don't know if Grace Slick actually was a part of it, and David Crosby, the song Triad, the song that the Byrds wouldn't let David Crosby sing. But this is a great album with that kind of artsy cover, scary cover by John Hammersfeld, the graphic designer artist in the 60s into the 70s. This great thing too. This is a really cool album. One of the greatest live albums ever. Bless his pun little head, with this wonderful photograph of bassist Jack Cassidy at 2400 Fulton Street, the mansion the Airplane bought in the late 60s across from Golden Gate Park. One of the best sounding live albums. The bass playing on this is awesome. But Coleman and I would talk about this, and probably their last great record and an essential record is Volunteers also. And if you're hungry, there you go. I mean, this is a politically charged record, beautiful record. Anyway, we'll go. I'm digressing again, but talking about the music. Coleman always had this dream when I first met him is actually starting playing guitar. I had played guitar since I was 12, 13, and within like 6 months, he was a better guitar player in 6 months than I was in all those years prior to that. And he always had this dream to start an R&B soul band, and he did. When he passed, his sister reached out to me about a month later, and if you don't know this, my friend Coffee Dave and I ended up buying the collection from his sister, and we kept, I think, about 1,000 to 1,500 records between the two of us, because Coleman had a massive 5,000 plus record collection. Amazing thing. Great R&B, great soul, great San Francisco, great psychedelic, original pressings, UK pressings of The Who. He was a big Who fan, Kinks fan, and Beatles fan just like me. Loved the Byrds, loved all those groups, but he was a big R&B fan. As much as I was into soul music and R&B, and I was to a point, but not like Coleman Burke. I learned so much about soul music. And then in 1978, I believe, I think that was the year, he started his band Pride and Joy, named after what, the Marvin Gaye song, Pride and Joy? I think it was or Smokey Robinson song, right? Someone's going to correct me on that. It's one of the two. I should have known this and should have prepared, but Pride and Joy was a soul R&B band. They were a party band. They played clubs, they played weddings, they played bar mitzvahs, they played corporate events, and they lasted for over 40 years. Coleman was a guitar player and led the band. He was the booker, the manager. They had these 4 amazing black singers, 2 men, 2 women. I think they only had one maybe change out over the years in the singers. Fantastic. And then they had bass, drums, keyboard, and I think a horn player occasionally. And I saw them maybe 20 times. I went to events that they played. I saw them at club gigs. I saw one of their very first gigs at a club, a bar really in San Francisco called Mr. Hyde's on California and Hyde Street. I literally doubled or tripled my soul collection here, and that second shelf all the way across is my soul and R&B collection, because I picked some things from Coleman's collection, some original pressings, some mono. And I do want to thank, and I showed this probably last year, a year and a half ago, I guess Christmas time, my good friend, the archivist, ordered this from Copel Design out of San Francisco, who makes these custom-made headers for records. You can get alpha stuff, things like that. And she made this. This is the Coleman collection. And this basically represents my soul collection. I don't have a soul or R&B header. I'm calling it and dedicating it the Coleman collection. It's kind of like when they name a library after the big donator. Coleman would love it. Coleman used to come up here every year after I moved to Seattle, and it's coming on, it's 9 years now, coming, I guess, 10 years next year. I've been here. I can't believe it. But every year, Coleman would come for 7 to 10 days. It'd be like a little mini vacation. We'd go to record stores. We'd go out to dinner. We had a great time. One time we drove down to Portland, hung out for a couple days down there, and we had just a wonderful time. So that's just a little short video. I mean, I could go on and tell you great stories about Coleman Burke, and I know I've done it in the past, and I'm sure I will continue to do this. But every once in a while, I want to just do one of these videos. And this is another reason why the music is so fucking special to me. It's because the people and the friends and family that I have connected with and shared this music. I went with a mutual friend, Jason, and my friend Ron, and Coleman and I went to see the last show at Candlestick Park, which was Paul McCartney. I went back to San Francisco, and it was the last show before they tore down Candlestick Park. And of course, the reason Paul McCartney played a show there, the last show, is because obviously Candlestick Park in 1966 was the last place the Beatles ever performed a live paying audience concert. Excuse me, getting choked up here. A concert I didn't see, but that's, again, another story. So thank you for watching. Again, I really appreciate you all watching these videos, and I hope you enjoy them. Enjoy them, comment, whatever you want to do. I'm glad you come back for more, but it's about the music, stupid, and it's about sharing music with friends. So happy birthday, Coleman Burke from San Francisco. Miss you dearly, buddy. He's my man. We both had the same middle name too, Edward. Mazzy loves you. I love you, Coleman. Coleman's favorite musical of all time is West Side Story.
And you'd think he bought one every time he went into a record store.
I'm sure he did.
There were dozens.
Coleman had about 8 or 9 copies of West Side Story.
More than that.